I'm standing behind the counter at a family mart in Shibuya around 11 p.m. on a Thursday. The store is packed. A guy in his mid-30s walks up with a basket full of onigiri, pocky, and about 6 different flavored Kit Kats. He's wearing a college hoodie and looks exhausted. He puts everything on the counter and immediately starts pulling items out of the plastic basket himself, lining them up. I freeze. In Japan, you never unload your own basket. Most people online talk about culture shock, like it's funny or awkward. I break down the psychology behind it, why it happens, what it reveals. If you value understanding more than judging, you'll want to stick around. That's the cashier's job. It's a whole thing about respect and service boundaries. But he's already halfway through, organizing everything by category like he's doing me a favor. Just trying to help speed things up, he says, smiling. I don't know what to do. I can't tell him to stop without seeming rude. So I just stand there while he finishes. Then I scan everything in complete silence. The woman behind him in line is staring. When I hand him his change, he grabs it from my hand directly instead of taking it from the small tray. His fingers touch mine. I actually flinch. He notices. Oh, sorry. Did I do something wrong? No, I say. But my face is probably red. He leaves, confused. I'm confused. The next customer gives me a sympathetic look. That same week, my cousin who works at a ryokan in Kyoto called me. An American family had checked in and immediately started walking around in their outdoor shoes, on the tatami mats. She had to chase them down the hallway, gesturing frantically at their feet, while they looked at her like she was having a medical emergency. The dad kept saying, "But we just bought these shoes. They're brand new." My friend Yuki works at a tempura restaurant in Osaka. She told me about a woman who asked for a Diet Coke, got told they only have Japanese soft drinks, and then asked if she could just have regular Coke but with less sugar added. When Yuki tried to explain that's not how it works, the woman said, "But you're in the service industry. Isn't the customer always right here too?" Yuki didn't even know how to respond to that. And then there's my neighbor Kenji, who drives a taxi near Tokyo Station. He picked up a couple from the airport who got in the back seat and immediately tried to hand him cash for a tip before the ride even started. He politely refused. They insisted. He refused again. They put the money on the seat and said, "Just take it. We know drivers don't make much." He pulled over and wouldn't drive until they took it back. The whole thing took 15 minutes. They missed their hotel check-in time. But that was just the beginning of understanding what happens when American directness meets Japanese indirectness at full speed. The thing about Japan is that we have an entire language that exists in pauses, slight head tilts, and the way someone breathes before responding. Americans don't have this language. They have words, lots of words, all the time. This is the kind of cross-cultural psychology I unpack every week. Not surface-level travel stories, but the invisible logic underneath them. Subscribe if you'd rather understand the world than just visit it. I work part-time at a small electronics shop in Akihabara. It's the kind of place where serious collectors come to find vintage gaming consoles and rare imports. We don't rush customers. Sometimes someone will stand in front of a shelf for 40 minutes just thinking. That's normal. Last month, a guy in his 20s came in wearing a backpack covered in anime pins. He walked straight to the counter and said, "Hey, so I'm looking for a Japanese Super Famicom. Original model. Good condition. You got one?" I nodded toward the back wall. "Please, look." He waited for me to say more. I didn't. In Japan, once you've directed someone, you give them space. You don't hover. You don't start listing specifications unless they ask. He stood there for about 10 seconds like he expected me to give him a tour. "So, can you show me where exactly?" I walked him over, pointed at the shelf, and returned to the counter. Through the security mirror, I watched him standing there, looking back at me several times. Finally, he picked up a console, brought it over, and said, "Is this one good? Like, does it work well? Are there better ones?" "All work well," I said. "But like, which one would you buy?" This is the question that always confuses us. In Japan, if you're the customer, you decide. The shopkeeper's job is to provide options, not opinions. Giving an opinion means taking responsibility for your satisfaction, which is too much relationship for a transaction. "Depends on your preference," I said. He looked genuinely frustrated. "Dude, I'm just asking for advice. You're the expert here." I could feel myself doing the thing where I smile and nod, but don't actually commit to anything. He bought a console eventually, but he left looking annoyed. My coworker later told me Americans think we're being weird and unhelpful when we do this. But from our side, he was being pushy and strangely intimate for someone I'd met 3 minutes ago. My sister Akiko works at a emoji store in Shinjuku. She told me about an American woman, probably in her 50s, who came in looking for storage boxes. Akiko showed her the aisle. The woman immediately started asking questions in this rapid-fire way. "Which one's the best? What do most people buy? Which one's the best value? Do these stack well? Are they durable? What about this one versus that one?" Akiko answered each question with the same measured politeness. "These are popular. Those are also popular. Both stack well. Both are durable." The woman got visibly irritated. "You're not answering my questions. I'm asking which one is better." Akiko, in the most Japanese way possible, said, "Both are good quality. It depends on your needs." The woman actually raised her voice. "I'm telling you my needs. I need storage boxes. Just tell me which one to buy." Other customers started glancing over. In Japan, raising your voice in a store is like setting off a social alarm. Akiko kept smiling, but her face had that frozen quality that means someone is deeply uncomfortable. A manager came over and somehow diffused it by offering to show the woman multiple options in silence, just placing boxes in front of her one by one until she picked one herself. She left happy, apparently, but Akiko went on break immediately after and didn't talk to anyone for 20 minutes. The hard part is that Americans think they're being friendly and efficient. To them, asking direct questions and expecting direct answers is just normal communication. But in Japan, that directness feels aggressive, like someone is demanding. You make decisions for them that they should make themselves. I have a friend, Hiroshi, who's a tour guide for English-speaking visitors. He told me about a group from California who got frustrated during a tea ceremony demonstration. The tea master was explaining each movement in this slow, deliberate way, with long pauses between sentences. One guy in the group whispered to his friend, "Is he okay? Why does he keep stopping?" Hiroshi had to explain that the pauses are part of the ceremony. They're intentional. Silence isn't awkward in Japan. It's respectful. It gives weight to what was just said. The guy responded, "But like, we paid for a 2-hour tour. We could get through this in 45 minutes if he just talked normally." Hiroshi didn't know how to explain that talking normally would ruin the entire point. You can't speed-run mindfulness, but Americans are used to efficiency, to filling silence, to getting value by packing in more content. Japanese value comes from depth, not volume. There's this assumption that if a rule is important, someone will tell you about it directly. That's not how Japan works. We have a million unspoken rules, and you're supposed to learn them by observation or by noticing when people get slightly uncomfortable. I work weekends at a sento, a public bathhouse in a quiet neighborhood near Ueno. It's old school, the kind with tile murals of Mount Fuji and wooden buckets. We get some tourists, but not many, because most tourists go to the fancy onsens with English signs. One Saturday afternoon, an American guy in his 40s showed up with his teenage son. They paid, got their towels, and headed to the changing room. So far, so good. Then they walked into the bathing area wearing their swim trunks. I was cleaning near the entrance and saw them immediately. In a sento, you bathe completely naked. That's the rule. Wearing anything is not just wrong, it's kind of shocking. It's like walking into a library and screaming. I rushed over, trying to signal to them without making a scene. "Excuse me. Sorry, no swimsuit." The dad looked down at himself, then at me. "What? Why not? In Japan, bath is. No clothes. You want us to be naked? In front of everyone?" "Yes, everyone naked is normal." The son looked horrified. The dad looked annoyed. "That's insane. We're not doing that." I didn't know how to explain that every single person in this room was following the same rule, and that their refusal was making everyone uncomfortable. An older man sitting nearby was pointedly not looking at them, which in Japan is the loudest form of disapproval. "Is culture?" I tried. "Everyone same." "Well, in America, we don't do that. This is a public place." I wanted to say, "Yes, exactly, which is why you follow public rules." But my English wasn't good enough for that argument. Eventually, my manager came over and asked them to either follow the custom or get a refund. They took the refund and left, muttering about weird Japanese rules that make no sense. But here's the thing, it makes perfect sense within the system. Clothes in the bath bring in dirt and detergent residue. Everyone being naked creates equality. No designer swimwear to show off. It's about shared vulnerability and cleanliness standards. But if you don't grow up in that system, it just seems arbitrary and uncomfortable. My friend Sakura works at the immigration office at Narita Airport. She told me about an American woman who filled out her landing card in all capital letters and check marks, instead of the little circles we use. When Sakura politely asked her to redo it with circles, the woman said, "Why does it matter? You can read it, can't you?" Sakura tried to explain it's about the computer system scanning the forms, but the woman cut her off. "Then fix your computer system. Don't make customers redo paperwork for no reason." The line behind her was getting long. In Japan, holding up a line is one of the worst social sins. Sakura felt the pressure from everyone waiting, but she also couldn't process the form incorrectly. She was stuck between American individualism, "my way is fine," and Japanese collective responsibility. Everyone must follow the same process. It took a supervisor stepping in to resolve it, and even then, the woman posted on social media about Japan's ridiculous bureaucracy that night. Sakura saw the post because it tagged the airport. She told me she went home and cried. Not because the woman was mean, but because she felt like she'd failed at her job by causing conflict. The most confusing thing for Americans in Japan is our apology culture. We say sumimasen, excuse me, sorry, constantly, for everything, even when nothing is wrong. It's a social lubricant. Americans hear us apologizing and think something went wrong or that we're being passive. I work at a hotel in Yokohama at the front desk. A couple in their 60s checked in late one night after a delayed flight. They were exhausted and just wanted their room key. Simple enough. I handed over the key cards and said, "Room 504, elevator is left side. Sumimasen, breakfast starts 7 a.m. The wife stopped. "Wait, why are you sorry about breakfast?" "Sorry? You just said sorry about breakfast starting at 7. I realized I'd said sumimasen without thinking. I always do. It's like saying, "Please note," or, "By the way," but with an apology attached. No, not sorry, just information. But you said sorry. Her husband was already walking toward the elevator, but she stayed at the counter, genuinely confused. I tried to explain that sumimasen doesn't always mean sorry, but also kind of does, but not really. It's more about softening communication. She looked at me like I was describing quantum physics. So, you're not actually sorry? Not sorry, just polite. That's the weirdest thing I've ever heard. She left, but I could tell she thought I was either very apologetic or very strange. Probably both. My cousin Daiki works at a ramen shop in Harajuku. He told me about a guy who came in alone, ordered shoyu ramen, and ate in complete silence while scrolling his phone. Normal enough. But when Daiki came by to refill his water, he said, "Sumimasen. Sorry for interrupting your meal to serve you water, which is my job." The customer looked up. "Dude, you don't have to apologize. You're doing your job." Daiki smiled and nodded, but didn't know how to explain that he wasn't actually apologizing in the Western sense. He was acknowledging the minor intrusion into the customer's space, showing humility, and maintaining social harmony. The guy seemed bothered by it. Every time Daiki came by, he'd say, "Seriously, stop saying sorry. You're making me uncomfortable." But Daiki couldn't stop. It's programmed into us. Saying sumimasen is like breathing. Asking a Japanese service worker not to say it is like asking them to be rude. There's a flip side to this that Americans also find weird. We don't say thank you as much as they expect. In Japan, doing your job correctly doesn't require praise. You're supposed to do it well. That's the baseline. Excessive thanking can actually feel condescending, like you didn't expect competence. I have a friend, Yui, who works at a cafe in Shimokitazawa. She made a latte for an American student studying abroad. The student watched her make it and said, "Thank you," 4 times. When Yui took the order, when she started making it, when she finished, and when she handed it over, Yui told me it felt strange. Like the student was surprised that Yui actually completed the task. In America, those thank yous are just friendly politeness. In Japan, they're unnecessary and create weird emotional debt. Now, Yui feels like she has to thank the customer back. But for what? For ordering? It spirals into a thank you loop that neither culture knows how to exit. The worst collision of apology cultures happened to my friend Kenji, who works at a department store in Ginza. An American woman bought a scarf, left the store, and came back 20 minutes later saying it had a tiny loose thread. She wasn't angry, just wanted to exchange it. Kenji immediately bowed and said, "I'm so sorry for this problem. We will fix immediately." He took the scarf, found one in perfect condition, and gave it to her with another apology. She looked uncomfortable. You don't have to apologize so much. It's not a big deal. But in Japan, it is a big deal. A product defect, no matter how small, is a failure of the entire store's quality control. Kenji's apology wasn't personal, it was institutional. He was representing the brand's commitment to perfection. The woman kept saying, "Really, it's fine, don't worry about it." But Kenji kept apologizing, because stopping would mean he didn't take her concerns seriously. They were stuck in this loop where she was trying to make him feel better, and he was trying to make her feel valued. Both had good intentions. Neither understood what the other was doing. She left with the new scarf and later wrote a review saying the staff were overly apologetic to the point of being weird. Kenji's manager showed him the review, and Kenji felt terrible, which made him want to apologize more. The cycle never ends. The best story I've heard came from my uncle, who works at a Shinkansen ticket office in Tokyo Station. It was Golden Week, so the station was absolutely packed with both Japanese travelers and tourists. An American guy, maybe late 20s, rushed up to the window at 1:55 p.m. His train was at 2 Southern p.m. He didn't have a reserved seat, and the train was completely sold out. My uncle explained, in careful English, that there were no seats available. The man could stand in the unreserved car or wait for the next train in 2 hours. The guy started negotiating like he was at a car dealership. Come on, there's got to be something. Can't you bump someone? I'll pay extra. I've got a meeting in Osaka at 5. My uncle kept explaining, all seats reserved, cannot change, next train is 4 p.m. The guy got more insistent. Listen, in America, if you need something and you're willing to pay, someone makes it happen. That's customer service. My uncle, in the most Japanese way possible, just kept saying, I understand. Very sorry. No seat available. The guy finally said, Can I speak to a manager? My uncle smiled and said, I am manager. There was this long pause where the guy realized he'd reached the end of the escalation chain and gotten nowhere. In America, there's always another level, another person who can override the system. In Japan, the system is the answer. He ended up taking the 4 p.m. train and missed his meeting. But here's what my uncle told me later. After the guy left, my uncle felt bad. Not because he'd done anything wrong, but because someone had left disappointed. In Japan, even when you follow every rule perfectly, if the customer isn't happy, you still feel like you failed somehow. That's the thing about Japanese service culture that Americans struggle with. We have incredibly high standards, but they're not about giving you whatever you want. They're about doing the correct thing perfectly, even if the correct thing disappoints you. Americans are used to flexibility, to systems bending for individual needs. Japan is about everyone following the same beautiful, complicated, unspoken system so that it works for everyone collectively. And when those two philosophies meet at a convenience store at 11 p.m. over a plastic basket of Kit Kats, nobody really knows what to do except smile, nod, and hope the confusion doesn't last too long. The stories keep coming, though. Every day, somewhere between Sapporo and Okinawa, an American is confidently doing something that makes a Japanese person's eye twitch slightly, while they maintain perfect politeness. And somewhere, a Japanese person is saying "sumimasen" to someone who has no idea why.